Hey everyone, my name's Jason. I'm a community manager at Coffee Stain Studios, and today's video is just kind of like a catch-up kind of talking video. Just want to talk about some things real quick. First thing I want to talk about is the reminder that, Update 5 will be releasing on early access on Tuesday, 23rd of November. That's this Tuesday coming up. So everyone should have access to all the features of Update 5 come Tuesday. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Now, coincidentally, we are actually also on sale. Satisfactory is on sale, 30% off on Steam, Epic, and the Humble Store. So if you're on the fence or have friends who are on the fence, this is a great time to pick up the game if you're kind of interested in getting into it. So do consider taking advantage of that sale. Now, what I kind of want to talk about today is what's been happening with Update 5 over the past month. It's been an experimental the entire time, and just wanted to let you guys know that we've been doing a bunch of patches. We've been posting these patches on our Discord. You can join our Discord, discord.gg/satisfactory. We've also been posting the patch notes on Steam and also on our Reddit, which is reddit.com/r/satisfactorygame. And I just wanted to talk about what exactly we've been putting into these patch notes, because some folks might be checking those patch notes, but maybe people here on YouTube haven't really been aware of what's been happening, so just wanted to catch you all up. So with all these patches that have been coming out on the experimental version of Update 5, there have been a bunch of stability, bug fixes, all that kind of stuff, because we've been running into bugs and issues as well. And we've been fixing a lot of things, sometimes making some bugs and then fixing them again. But what I really want to talk about is the new stuff that we've been adding into Update 5. So we've been adding some extra new features and little additions with these patches as well as just bug fixes. And we haven't been making videos or anything like that. So I just wanted to shine a bit of a light on some of the new things that we've added over the past month to Update 5. First thing I want to talk about is the global grid. So we've now added the ability to snap your foundations out in the world to a global grid by holding control while placing the building. So they sort of just snap to a predefined grid. And this is sort of useful for people who are building factories that are in two different parts and they want to connect them later. If it's all aligned to the global grid, then your factories will line up if you choose to connect them with foundations. So yeah, people have been requesting a global grid, and it's in now. So one thing that people have pointed out as a bit of an oversight, in Update 5 we've added equipment volume sliders and a bunch of just volume sliders so that you can adjust how loud you want certain things in the game, so you've got a little bit more control there. But we were missing the hand mining tool, a volume slider for that. That was kind of loud and no one could change the volume of that. We've added that in a recent patch. And speaking of audio stuff, we've also added a Misophonia Mode. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but basically Misophonia is where people just get a little uncomfortable around sort of sounds that people make, like mouth sounds, for example, or like when you're eating. Some people get a little bit of discomfort around that. And in our game, you can eat berries, right? And so this has been annoying some people for quite some time. So we've added Misophonia Mode to substitute those mouth sounds and bodily sounds with just other sounds, so that those folks can play with a little bit more comfort now. We've also added the ability with signs to change their brightness. They can be really dim now with no emission, or they can be really bright. There's a few settings there. So brightness is now a thing you can now adjust with signs. You can also adjust their finish, so it can have a glossy finish or a matte finish. So that's another little bit of customization there for folks. We've also added a couple new icons in a recent patch. There's a doggo and a check it mark that you can now add onto your signs as well. So just a little bit of an addition there. On the topic of the brightness, actually, for some folks, they noticed that all their signs went dim after one of the updates, and that was probably just an issue with before we didn't have that brightness setting, and now we do, and everything got reverted back to the lowest setting. The default setting is not for signs to be very dim. If you were affected by this, you just need to go through and just change them manually. So unfortunately, it's a little bit of a grind, but yeah, growing pains, but the feature is there now, and it'll be better in the long run. Another thing that has caused a bit of confusion is what happens with vehicles and truck stations when you're driving them, they're not loading or unloading, or it's kind of weird. So we've now actually added the ability to press F when you're at a truck station to manually load or unload from a truck that you're driving. Of course, the trucks do their things normally when they're automated, but this is specifically when you're driving a tractor or something like that. This is a big one. This was just added a couple days ago. Block visualizations for train rails. So you guys know that we've added signals to the trains, and there's block signals that break up train lines into various blocks. We've now added the ability to visualize that when you pull out a block signal, or I think it happens with pass signals as well. So you can see that all the train lines are visually separated by color, so that you can see where one block starts and where one ends, and what what rail belongs to what block, and I think this is a really handy tool to make building signals a little bit more intuitive and a bit easier for people. Another thing that we've added is Hypertube floor holes. So in Update 5, we've added conveyor lift holes, and this is the same thing, but for Hypertubes, essentially. So now you can pass Hypertubes through floors. Dedicated servers have been getting a bit of love as well. We've added some, a bunch of fixes and stuff for it, but also we've added IPv6 support. We've also added like the first stage of this like save manager that we want to do. So right now you can upload, if you're the admin of a server, you can upload saves to the server. And we do intend to have the ability to download saves from a server as well. We just haven't done that yet, but we'll get around to it. One thing that I want to talk about with the dedicated servers real quick is now that we're going to release Update 5 on Early Access branch, that means we're going to have dedicated server support on the Early Access branch and also dedicated server support for the experimental branch. This means that going forward, we're going to have 2 branches of the dedicated servers too, Early Access and experimental. And it's important to note that you need to use the appropriate branch for the game that you're playing. So if you're playing on experimental and you want to play with a dedicated server, you need to play with an experimental dedicated server. And same goes for the early access. So make sure that your dedicated servers that you're playing on match the same version of the game that you're playing. Just something to note there. We've also made it now that DirectX 12 is the default rendering API. Previously, the default was DirectX 11, and of course, we have Vulkan support as well, so you can, of course, still choose whatever rendering API you want to use, but we're now changing it so that DirectX 12 is the default one. The reason for this is that we find that from what we can see, the DirectX 12 implementation is like as stable, if not more stable, than the DirectX 11 implementation is, and generally provides better performance. So for the most part, if you can run DirectX 12, it's just basically better that you do. Now we do some checks to make sure that your hardware can run DirectX 12, and if it doesn't, we don't switch it to DirectX 12, we keep it on DirectX 11. It's possible that this might still cause some issues. We've heard from some people that they couldn't support it and it switched anyway. So I just want to I've talked about this before here on this channel, but I just want to let you guys know again, it is possible if you get into a situation where the game is crashing and you're getting errors for DirectX, do consider trying to change your DirectX rendering API to 12 or back to 11 to see if that works. If the game isn't running at all because you get that crash when it starts up, you can use launch options to force a specific rendering API. I'm going to leave information in the description below of what launch options you can use to force each respective rendering API, and also a link to a resource for how to find out how to use launch options in various launches. So launch options are available on the Epic launcher and on the Steam launcher as well. You can also Google them. Information is pretty easy to find, but you can use those launch options if you want. I'm also going to include information on how to make these changes to your config files. I recommend just using the launch options and then using the launch options to force whatever rendering API you want, and then making the changes in the options menu and then removing the launch options. That's my recommendation, and I'm just going to provide information below so that you can do whatever you feel is best. Okay. Now there are more bug fixes and more features actually planned as well that is still going to be coming to Update 5 in more patches. Just wanted to bring all this stuff to your attention. Make sure you do check out the Discord. I think the Discord's probably the best place because all the patch notes are there in one chat window thing that you can just scroll through. On Reddit, the posts are kind of separated, so a little harder to find. But do keep an eye on the patch notes for stuff that we're adding, because we're doing bug fixes and we're doing adding new quality of life features as well. And now, even though Update 5 is going to be coming out on early access next week, it is by no means completely bug-free, and we're not by any means done fixing bugs. So we are kind of at this point right now where we feel that the game is at a point that it is stable enough that it doesn't make sense to hold all these features and all the fun that people are having on Update 5 from the people on early access. So we think that it is stable enough to put it over to early access, even if there might be a couple issues here and there. And if there are issues, please let us know on our QA site, questions.satisfactorygame.com, and we will fix them up as quickly as we can. Okay, so yeah, super excited for that. Yeah, and so that's all I wanted to talk about today. If you found the video interesting or helpful, please consider giving it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to keep up to date with Satisfactory stuff. I hope you are having a lovely day, and I hope you have a great weekend. Take care, everybody. Bye.